Good morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington. It is Tuesday, the 14th of July, Bastille Day, 1889. On this day, that's when the French Revolution, or as some call it, the French Riot, began. But I'm not going to look at that today because I'm here in Grandview, Washington at Immanuel Lutheran, 300 Euclid Avenue. So things do happen even during this time when we're social distancing and self-isolating. Men's group come and of course take care of the church. And for those who are church people, you might wonder some of the other things. I'll show you in a minute the beautiful garden that we're keeping out front. But right now I'm in the narthex, and we have these steps that we have had for a long time. And they're not particularly attractive, but when the new building was built, the part I'm standing in, these were part, I don't know if they were added then. The original concrete steps that used to be outdoors are now indoors, and they were carpeted. But these have been needing some kind of attention. So the men's group have been looking at how to really create something that's attractive, something that's wood that would really fit the building, and it looked like it's inside the building rather than something that was outside and still belongs outside. So that's one of the things that we're doing. Now let's just take a quick look out here at the garden so that you can see that your church, your Immanuel Lutheran Church building, is being taken care of, and beautifully so. And I can't really even see what I'm looking at because it's such a glary thing out here. But anyway, I'm going to try it and hopefully get a good view of gardens, the fountain that we keep going, that Galen keeps going, and Jerry and Joe does a beautiful job of trimming things, and Tom and Larry and all the guys. So thank you to the guys for all the work you do keeping this place going. And back now in the sanctuary. One of the questions is, what is the timeline for reestablishing worship, in-person worship here in the church? Well, the church council will meet on Tuesday the 21st. That's a week from today. And we'll look at the task force report of all the recommendations that we've made in coordination with the bishop's office, the Yakima County Health Department, and our insurance coverage. And there will be steps. The first step will be to make sure that we have working internet in this room so that I can continue talking to all of you who will still be Zooming at home, at the same time being able to then work with anyone who's here, to worship with anyone here. And I think what will probably happen the first few Sundays is I will be here in the building worshiping instead of sitting in my basement, and pretty much doing the same thing. We'll keep doing Zoom for as long as we need to, just Zoom with no one else but me in the building. Make sure we get that down, that part's working, because we don't want to try to do everything all at once. We want to do it in increments and prove that each increment is working and sustainable before we then add another element. All right, let's go with some Bible. I'm going to go all the way back. Okay, not all the way. I'm going to start in chapter 2 of Genesis. Now you're familiar with the story of Adam and Eve. Well, Adam and Eve are really Ish and Ishah. That's the Hebrew words that we find in Genesis chapter 2. For when it says, the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone." It is not good that Ish should be alone. I will make him Ishah as his partner. And this is verse 18 of chapter 2. So out of the ground, the Lord God formed every animal of the field and every bird of the air and brought them to Ish to see what he would call them. And whatever Ish called them, that was its name, every living creature. Ish gave names to all the cattle and all the birds of the air and every animal of the field, but for Ish, there was not found an Ishah to be his partner. And the way in English it says, a helper as his partner. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Ish, and he slept, and he took one of Ish's ribs, closed up the place with flesh, and the rib that the Lord God had taken from Ish he made into Ishah, and brought Ishah to Ish. And then Ish says, at last, this is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Ishah, for she was taken from Ish. And in the Hebrew, it uses the phrase, at last, this is my Ezar Kenegdo. And this is a wonderful story. I have used it often at weddings. And in the way this was told in the original oral tradition, in my imagining, would be something like this, that one of the tribal elders would sit around and the children would be gathered, and he would say, let me to tell you the story of Ish and Elohim Adonai. And Elohim Adonai said to Ish, Ish, are you lonely? And Ish said, yes, Elohim Adonai. Yes, Lord God Almighty, I am lonely. And Elohim Adonai, Lord God Almighty, said, then I will make you the one that is just right for you. I will make you the Ezar Kenegdo. And so Elohim Adonai made a large gray elephant with a long trunk and huge feet and long ivory tusks, and said to Ish, Ish, what shall you call this? And then the tribal elder would say to the children, what do you think Ish called that? And the children would all say, the elephant. And then the Lord God would say to Ish, you call this the elephant, and so it is, the elephant. And Ish would say, thank you, Elohim Adonai, for the elephant, but this is not my Ezar Kenegdo. This is not the one who is just right for me. This is not flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones. This is not my partner and my helper, the one who completes me. And so the tribal elder would say, the Lord God brought this giant cat, and the cat had orange and black stripes on it. And Elohim Adonai said to Ish, Ish, what will you call this? And the tribal elder would say to the children, now what do you think Ish called it? Then all the children would say, giggling, the tiger. And the tribal elder would say, yes, that is what Ish called it. And Ish told the Lord God, Elohim Adonai, I will call this the tiger. And Elohim Adonai says, then its name shall be known forevermore as the tiger. And Ish looked at the tiger, and it was beautiful, and it was majestic, and it was powerful. But it was not his Ezar Kenegdo. And he said, Lord God, I love the tiger, but this is not the one that completes me, not my helpmate, not my partner, not my Ezar Kenegdo. And so the Lord God, and then you could see the tribal elder could take this story and make it as long as the children would stay put. And you have to remember, in the time that they were telling this, during the time of the tribes, maybe 3,000 years ago, before King David, all the way on down, they didn't have anything that would distract the children. They didn't have gadgets. They didn't have video games. They certainly didn't have one of these. They didn't have apps. So really, sitting around and listening to the stories, these ancient stories from the tribal elders, was part of how they got through their day, how they were entertained. And it was how they learned. It was part of their schooling. Okay, so then they would go through all of the things, and the snake, got to have the snake in the story, because or the serpent anyway. The serpent will come into the story later on, and we'll talk about how the serpent lost its feet and became the snake. Yes, that's part of the story. Interesting the way they explain the existence of snakes. But finally, it was when Ish, at the end of this story in the tribal way, would say, oh, Lord God, I am tired and I must sleep. And Ish went to sleep. disappointed that Elohim Adonai had given him all the wonderful animals and he had named them, but none of them were his Azar Kenegdo. And Elohim Adonai was waiting for Ish to be disappointed, waiting for Ish to conclude that none of those so far was his Azar Kenegdo, the one that could complete him, so that when the Lord God did finally give him Ishah, he would know that that was his life partner forever. And Ish then fell into a deep sleep, and we have the story of the rib, and how then Ish woke up and, Elohim Adonai, you finally got it right. That's my Azar Kenegdo. That's what I've been talking about all this time. That's one of these beautiful stories, and we get the edited, abbreviated version in chapter 2 of the book of Genesis. But I wanted to share with you the tribal version that was passed down to me. There's some just wonderful stories. They have the same meaning, but I think it takes on a little fuller understanding when we understand the way it was taught to generation, that Adam, or we call them Adam and Eve, but Ish really had to get to the point where he's going, I don't think God understands me or my needs. And then wakes up and goes, oh my, have I misunderstood and missed what God is trying to do here? God needed me to finally get to the point where I would never, ever forsake or take my Ishah for granted, because she's my Azar Kenegdo. Wonderful story. God bless you and your Azar Kenegdo, whoever he or she may be.